Everyone. In this channel, we will discuss past year question of UPSC. We'll start with modern history. Which was the party that was in power in UK when India got independence? It was Labour Party. After World War II, Labour Party under Clement Attlee came into power. Labour was not officially in favor of decolonization when it was elected in 1945. Decolonization was never a major election issue. A small minority of Labour Party was sympathetic to Congress movement in India. With violence escalating after World War II, British power at low ebb thought that large-scale military involvement was not possible. Historian and Conservative Party sympathizer Andrew Roberts says independence of India was a national humiliation, but it was necessitated by urgent financial, administrative, strategic, political needs. Whereas Churchill in 1940 to 45 had tightened the hold of India and imprisoned the Congress leadership, Labour Party had looked forward to making it a fully independent dominion like Canada or Australia. Many of Congress leaders in India had studied in India and were highly regarded as fellow idealistic and socialist by Labour leaders. Moving on to the next question. Who founded Swaraj Party? Swaraj Party was founded by Motilal Nehru in January 1923 after Gaya Annual Conference in December 1922 of INC. It sought greater self-governance and political freedom for Indians from British Raj. Its president was Chittaranjan Das. Party disintegrated after his death in 1925, and secretary of Swaraj Party was Motilal Nehru. They thought of contesting elections to enter the Legislative Council with view to obstruct foreign government. Basically, their aim was to contest election in order to wreck the legislature from within. Swaraj Party was formed after INC members opposed Mahatma Gandhi's suspension of all civil resistance on February 5, 1922 in response to Chauri Chaura tragedy, where policemen were killed by a mob of protesters. Gandhi felt responsible for killings and reproached himself for not emphasizing non-violence more firmly, and feared that entire non-cooperation movement could degenerate into an orgy of violence between British-controlled army and mobs of freedom fighters, alienating and hurting millions of common Indians. But a faction in INC felt non-cooperation movement should not have been suspended over an isolated incident of violence, and its astonishing success was actually close to breaking the back of the British rule in India. These people became disillusionized with Gandhiji's political judgment and instincts. No changers were those who accepted Mahatma Gandhi's decision to withdraw the movement. They included Mahatma Gandhi himself, Vallabhbhai Patel, Jawaharlal Nehru, Rajendra Prasad. They rejected provincial and legislative council created by British offered some participation to India. Their argument was council were rigged with unelected allies of the British and were too undemocratic and simply rubber stamps of the viceroy. Swarajists wanted to end the mandatory requirement for congressmen to spin khadi cloth and do social service as a prerequisite for office. Gandhiji, after his release from prison in 1924, relaxed the rule of spinning and named some Swarajists to important positions of INC, and also encouraged Congress to support those Swarajists who were elected to the councils so as not to embarrass them and leave them rudderless before British authorities. After Simon Commission arrived in 1928, millions of Indians were infuriated with the idea of an all British committee writing proposals for Indian constitutional reforms without any Indian member or consultation from Indians. In reply, Congress created a committee to write Indian proposal for constitutional reforms and headed by now INC President Motilal Nehru. Death of Lala Lajpat Rai further infuriated people and all rallied around Nehru report, and old political wounds and divisions were forgotten, and all Swarajist councils resigned in protest. We may note down few Swarajists who were from provinces of Bengal and Madras. From Bengal, Swarajists were Hussain Shahid Sohrawardi and Subhash Chandra Bose, while in Madras, Swaraj Party was established in 1923 by S. Satyamurthy and S. Srinivas Iyengar. They contested in all provincial election between 1923 to 1934, with exception of 1930 election where they did not participate officially due to civil disobedience. Some members though contested as independents. Moving on to the next question. Country that was never colonized in Africa. Answer would be Liberia, which was formed as the American protectorate for freed slaves. There was governing class of former black Americans and resentful indigenous population. The second most close answer would be Ethiopia. Ethiopia was briefly defeated by Italy in 1930s. Swadeshi started in protest of the anti-Bengal partition. PM of interim government of India after independence was Jawaharlal Nehru himself. From where was the name of Pahlavi dynasty in Iran derived? Pahlavi dynasty was derived from a language. It was Pahlavi was an admixture of written Imperial Aramic, from which Pahlavi derives its script, logogram, and some of the vocabulary, and spoken Middle Iranian, from which Pahlavi derives symbols, rules, and most of its vocabulary. Speaking of the languages in India, like the Indo-Aryan languages, which comprises of Gujarati, Odia, Marathi, etc., they come in the families of Indo-Iranians, which is in part of Indo-Europeans. Tamil is not an Indo-Aryan language. Who evolved the national consciousness as a formal concept? It was Surendranath Banerjee who evolved the national consciousness as a formal concept. He founded Indian National Association and welcomed Montague Chelmsford's reforms, unlike Congress, and with many liberal leaders left INC and founded in 1990 Indian National Liberation Federation. He was known as Rashtraguru. He was a moderate leader. He was the editor of The Bengali. He wrote A Nation in Making. Congress. He was the Congress president in 1895 session in Pune and 1902 session in Ahmedabad. The reason why British succeeded in trade and commerce in India was because of its naval security. It was not because of its quality of merchandise or government backing. The class that participated least in Indian national movement was the princes of various states. So that sums up the first our first module. See you guys soon. Thank you.